Hello, y'all. Welcome to a live Eternal Brews. My name is Amiriad. We are recording for YouTube and Twitch right now, and we are going to be discussing Fallen Out of Reach, which is an Elysian mid-range list that we've designed for Enter the Arcanum. I'm having a pretty fun time with several different lists in Enter the Arcanum so far. As a note, until further notice, Ultimatum is broken. It does not actually create fire bombs, so one of the decks didn't work out. But we had some other backups that I think do actually work pretty well. So just a little PSA there in terms of that card's not working and won't be working until they patch it. So keep an eye out for those notes. All right. Anyways, let's talk about this deck. This is a Gravity Field Talir Headmistress deck with the basic idea that we are going to be using a bunch of ramp to jump into Talir Headmistress and then play into some bigger, huge cards on top of that. We have really, really good ramp in the current Expedition format because not only do we have access to Apprentice Mage and Endangered Kirin, but the new Arcanum card All-Nighter also creates and draws an Apprentice Mage, giving us effectively 12 different units at 2 that ramp +1 maximum power. This means we can pretty easily jump to 4, make it up to some of the bigger values pretty quickly, and also just sort of support a pretty aggressive style that still runs a decent amount of mid-range units. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of the deck. First things first, at our 2-drop slots, we have the 12, of course. All-Nighter functions as well as a removal card for smaller units. It can get rid of Zetos and other things like that without dealing with quite as many issues. It's a decently strong card in this respect. We also use Plunk Wumpkin because it's a very powerful 2-drop for its effect, and it plays pretty well with some of the other things that we're going to be playing around with, specifically Gravity Field, which is really, really good in when we are playing with it. We also have Flash Flood, which stuns things to open up the attack for Talir or Plunk, and having a lot of attack-based strategies means we're less vulnerable to, say, the anti-summon effect of the new relic. I don't think that's particularly a big deal, but definitely does make a bit of a difference. So there's some decent stuff going on there. All right, anyways, we also have Island Hand of the Tempest. This is sort of the strong mid-range card that we can play. We do have to play a lot of blue to get this card active, but there's a couple of different reasons that we want it. The main one being that it has that ultimate of paying 9 to play Channel the Tempest. This is just really, really good stuff if we can get it going. I would say that overall, the ability to play Channel the Tempest off of this card is one of your strongest options once you actually successfully hit with a Talir Headmistress. If you play the card on 7, then you can get up to 9 immediately. If you have any sort of other thing that actually triggers the Frenzy to reduce the cost, then you can even play it off of a 6-drop Talir Headmistress. And we use Serpent Hive for exactly that reason. When you inscribe Serpent Hive, it'll deal a damage to the enemy player's site. Okay, getting into the top end, once we play Talir Headmistress, that's when things start to go off. This is a 6-cost 6/6 with charge. It has +2 maximum power, so you go up to 8 maximum power. And when you hit the enemy player, you replenish your maximum power, meaning that you get to play something else on top of that. The central things that we are playing at the moment are Sashenka of Kosul and Wandering Hamlet. We also play Serpent Hive, which plays a bunch of Sky Serpents. And of course, we play Island's Channel the Tempest as our final option. In order to get Talir across, we have 2 different methods. We are either using Gravity Field, which gives your most recently played unit +2/+2 in flying, meaning Talir is going to be an 8/8 on the turn that it's played. Also, this card, if it gets destroyed, still has a decent chance of getting Talir flying because when it goes to your void, the top unit of your deck gets flying. So very, very good stuff for setting up that sort of interesting shenanigans. Basically, this is usually the sort of mid-range, this deck is very tempo oriented. It's very, very fast. We play a lot of units. The units then ramp into other bigger units in order to get a lot of value out very, very quickly. Talir Headmistress in this case is something that basically sort of puts the nail in the coffin on that tempo. You're playing a 6-drop and then you're playing another drop on top of that to kind of push out your opponent and actually overvalue, get them to the point where they can't really deal. All of this does require you to spend a decent amount of cards, so to refresh our hand, we run Celestial Discovery, which draws 2 cards at fast spell speed, and can also give us an additional selection if we have multiple gravity fields. Not necessarily the most likely thing, but certainly something that can be helpful. We are also running a single Boundless Knowledge. I have chosen 1. I played between 2 and 4 for a little bit, and I just felt like it was a little bit too slow for what we were doing, but as a way to refill your hand after you've played a Talir and attacked with, this is just a great way to draw up to 4 cards if you're in a situation where you're not in such great shape. Sashenka is the final card that really refills everything. You can draw cards with it, you can deal damage to your opponents with flying, and you can create bears, all of which allows you to counter out aggro decks, control decks, and evasive flyers with pretty relative ease. I would say this card is like overall, like as a promo card, just really, really flexible in what it can do. Its main disadvantage is that it costs 7, and when you can play it on 6 with Delir, that kind of makes a pretty huge difference. This card is also going to see a lot of play in the current red, yellow, blue I can't remember the name of the card at the moment, but red, yellow, blue combo decks that play cheap cards for free off of charging attackers. Like, it's just going to be, I think, a fairly strong card in the general format in the meta for the time being and for a while. As some fun ofs, we also include the Wandering Hamlet. This is an 8/8 that gives your other units +2/+2. It's a really good card to play off Delir, and we need at least one more big drop for this whole setup. Sometimes we run 2, sometimes we run 4, but I would say here, like, 1 is good enough. Like, if you play this card, it will basically seal up everything else that you've got going on. It'll make your bears and your serpents and your everything else much bigger. It'll put a little bit of extra gas on everything that you've already got going on, and all of this will also stack with Gravity Field, which is giving the +2/+2 and flying. Gravity Field does most of the work of the deck. This card is basically allowing you to attack with multiple Plunk Wumpkins. It's giving your Apprentice Mages the ability to attack as 4/4s. The extra tempo that this card gives you cannot be denied. It is really, really aggressive. It deals a lot of damage, and it basically just means that you're always trading up with whatever your most recently played unit is. The main thing that you need to remember is that you want to attack with the unit that has Gravity Field before you play the next unit. You can't attack with an Apprentice Mage after playing Gravity Field, because the thing that you are going to be playing after Gravity Field will then turn off the Gravity Field on the Apprentice Mage. If you keep that in mind, you should be in pretty good shape for just generating pretty boundless tempo. The other thing that we can also do to give things flying is Serpent Hive. If we're in a situation where we're stalled out with Delir Headmistress, Serpent Hive will get us a little bit further along by giving the card flying, but usually it just ends up as a good value finisher that plays a lot of good flyers and does all of the definite work that you want to be doing. Apart from that, we keep Tomes and Seats of Wisdom. We're in pretty simple Elysian colors with 4 Seek power, which means that we have good, consistent power. There's a decent amount of Inscribes in here with Serpent Hive, so we're pretty likely to hit most of the things that we're looking for. I would say the hardest card to play in this deck is Eileen, Hand of the Tempest, but it's also one of the most worth it because a 4/4 Aegis that has +2/+2 and flying is a nasty customer to be playing with. All right, that's the basic idea of the deck. It's just really good, simple tempo fun. We're going to play some games and try and demo it, so we'll see you there. All right, first up we got Phantom. This is pretty strong. I've got double blue, I've got the Apprentice Mage and the All-Nighter, so I can play the time, play the Apprentice Mage off of the All-Nighter, or I can hold the All-Nighter for a turn, which I will do. So we're going to do this, and we're just going to hold the All-Nighter. If they play something like really, really aggressive, like say the 2/1 that has charge, we can use the All-Nighter to remove it. Otherwise, we're just going to play 2 Apprentice Mages. Stone Scar colors. I might be inclined to save the Apprentice Mage. I'll think about it. I think odds are pretty good that if they play anything aggressive, we're still going to be able to at least block with the Apprentice Mage, so it's probably correct to just get the Apprentice Mage off the All-Nighter, play it. Keep the tempo, go as fast as we can. Okay. Island's a little bit too early. We don't have the blue influence with this particular hand. We didn't get any of the hybrid power, so we're going to be a little bit struggling on that front. But we can play this Gravity Field and get a 4/4 flyer next turn, which it's pretty good if we're trying to be aggressive. Of your choice. Okay, so they'll probably get Sashenka, but they could go for Island. Oh, even better. I'm into it. Okay, cool. Well, let's just play Gravity Field then. Swing for 4. And then we play Apprentice Mage. That sets up for Sashenka if we don't get Treacheried. I think we're in very good shape here. A little bit of fire. Barbarian Gorillas breaks the Gravity Field, which is pretty unfortunate. But I do at least give flying to the top card of my deck. Is a Gravity Field. We'll see how many Barbarian Gorillas they have. Top card of my deck is its top unit, so we still might draw a Delir or something fun. Okay, apparently the answer is multiple Barbarian Gorillas. I do think that it goes down to the next one and we get 2 flyers, but I don't know for certain. Regardless, we are at 7 power, so we can play Sashenka, get 2 3/3 bears, which I think is going to be pretty good. I probably just stay put and let the Barbarian Gorillas attack me here since we've got reasonable aggression going on. Yeah. Might have been correct to attack with the Apprentice Mage if we think we're going to draw power, but Sashenka is just so much strength right now. Okay, seek power, get a time. Play a time, attack for 4. Play Sashenka, play 2 bears. Oh, I drew 2 cards. I'm also okay with that, actually. And we got the Flying Talir, which is even better. Sure, I'm into it. I just it's a late evening brew recording, so we're a little bit off on the brains, but we got everything we needed here. I really am happy with this. Okay. Talir. Swing. And that's the game. Pretty sick. All right, here we go. We're up against Scuba. Opening hand does not have any ramp in it, and we kind of need that to make things work. It does have the draw, so we have a decent chance of finding ramp, and we have okay influence, but I'd say that we need too many things here. We need a power, we need a ramp card, and we need, like, just a little bit more gas early. Like, we have 2 Talirs, which I think is just too much. So, yeah, this looks much better. We've got the Elysian Tome as an option, either late or early. Probably just play it early because we aren't playing anything at 1, but if we draw a all-nighter, then we will change our minds. There we go. Now we can play Apprentice Mage. We're going to hold on to the Serpent Hive for the moment, but keep it in mind for basically anything that we're setting up. I think here, Plunk Wumpkin seems like a pretty good idea, and we can follow up with the Apprentice Mages to sort of offset the debt that we are taking on. So, should be fine. There is an advantage to playing the Apprentice Mage first, which is that the Apprentice Mage gets to be set up, and we don't have to like worry about certain options there. Like we get to play Apprentice Mage into Apprentice Mage Plunk, but the disadvantage was that they were sitting on 2 open power, which means they might have had removal just ready for the Apprentice Mages. So good to check for that. Let's go ahead and just trade the card with the Crinkle Boys. I think that's fine. As long as we are keeping good tempo, we should be in good shape. We'll play the Apprentice Mage first. We're going to try and play as many Primal Sigils as we can, because if we get to 4, then we can play Eilin, and Eilin is a pretty important card. This is looking like a game where we're going to be trading a lot of resources until we get into the later game, so the more that we can do, the better off we are. In addition, we also need 4 influence for Serpent Hive, which is looking fairly likely to be played at this point, because we didn't get a particularly aggressive start, and our opponent is playing particularly defensively. Alright, so hopefully we don't see another Fisher, but it does deal damage to units without flying, so even if we do, it'll only kill 1 of these 2 units, and we are now up to 6 power. It's not enough to play Serpent Hive because we still need the blue influence, but we can Celestial Discovery and try and find it, so I think we have a decent chance here. Plus, since we get to play power 7, we can Celestial Discovery and potentially pick up our Gravity Bubble, which is pretty important. Okay, what's that getting back? Is it getting back Fisher or Snowball? Went for Fisher. Okay, so cards without flying, gonna have some problems. That's fine. Fisher deals quite a bit of damage, but I can also just Flash Flood twice here, which is half the fun of Flash Flood. And that gives us some good aggression. The Fisher only takes us back down a little bit, which is not a big deal. And we can start setting up on Eilin. Since this is spell-based, the Eilin that we have is going to be really strong. Skycrag just generally has a lot of issues with cards that have Aegis, so I think here we're probably going to take the 5. Seems right to just sort of leave all of our units out since we already have a lot of good stuff going on. They also played out all of their power this turn, so that means we get to throw in with Talir Headmistress. Swing in for 6. We now have 9 power available. We're going to Celestial Discovery to see if we can find a blue influence. We didn't find a blue influence, but we did find a gravity field. So I can either play the Serpent Hive to trigger Eilin, or I can play Gravity Field, which I actually think is the better play at this point. There we go. Now next turn, we can Serpent Hive, play Eilin, attack with the Talir, and if we get the Talir Refresh, which will kill them, so we probably won't. But if we do get the Talir Refresh, then we can use that to play Eilin's ultimate, so that's gonna, kind of costs them double. We got the Flash Floods. We have 9 power. I don't think there's a defensive option that actually succeeds here. Straight tempo, right out the gates, Elysian Aggression, very, very strong. All right, here we are up against Delete, and we are going to be trying to get a handle on our general power situation. Currently we need a time, but we also need 4 primals, so we are going to have little difficulty playing out that island. Hopefully we'll get lucky. Ooh, I think I'll take the Plunk Lumpkin here. I think just going right in, getting everything we need, playing the Endangered Kirin and the Seek powers, and just setting things up makes sense here. Okay, we got a Summon Scout. Seems good. I can bury this card, but I don't think we need to. I can literally just... Second Plunk is very interesting. We got to think about that. I'm going to go with the Endangered Kirin here. And just attack, because the extra power offsets the debt that we're taking, which we are absolutely going to do. Awesome, because we're trying to find more blue influence for Ailin, so the more of that we are playing, the better off we are. Okay, we get another Kirin here, which is pretty good. Go ahead and play that too. Go in for the same amount of debt. Now, I believe that the card that this transforms into is also a 2-drop, so I'm not too worried about the Frenzy on it. It does mean that they can gain a lot of life off of it, so ideally we'd like to All-Nighter it eventually, but I'm not in a huge hurry at the moment. Delete considering his options. Fast spells in Primal and Shadow are a little interesting. There are some options, but I can't think of anything that's like really spectacular. The Adept, lovely card, really, really easy to get rid of, and we're going to do that right now, because Felon Adept is a dangerous card and needs to be removed from the game whenever possible. I will play another Apprentice Mage, because... Again, we're trying to like offset the contracts a little bit, which seems to be working very well. We have a very, very good base of units. Found another Primal Sigil, which is enough to place a Shenka of Kosul next turn. And that, I think, will probably seal up the game, because we are like really, really, really well set up. So probably just go for card draw here. We don't need the bears. They're kind of just whatever at this point. Draw 2 cards. Completely replenish our hand in case of any sort of like Wrath-based effect. It's possible that I'm missing some sort of like combo that's happening, but it seems more likely that this deck might have just fallen down. And yeah, we'll pay the debt here. Found an All-Nighter. We can use that to bury the Alicias. The Gravity Field would give us a +2/+2 bonus, but that's already like, yeah, just everything we needed was already set up there. Plunk Lumpkin is a strong card, and it turns out it pairs really, really well with Ramp. All right, here we go again. Jabroni Drive. This is Primal Time. So this is looking pretty good. We have everything we need. We have the extra influence. We have the Gravity Fields. We have 2 good early drops, so if one of them dies, we have redundancy on that front, and either way, we're probably reaching Gravity Field pretty quickly. So plus we're going first. Always a good bonus. I generally tend to play the Apprentice Mage first because just there's a lot of things that deal 1 damage to units. I don't know if Forest Favor is in the Expedition. I think it is, but it doesn't get played very often, so we're probably okay, but good to keep an eye on. All right, I mean, straight up, just Gravity Field right here, playing a 4/4 makes sense, so we're going to go with that. Then we can follow up with an Endangered Kirin or a Celestial Discovery for a power and then an Endangered Kirin. Should be in pretty good shape. Yeah, I think we just play an Endangered Kirin here, and we're going to inscribe the Serpent Hide because we need the power. As nice as it would be to keep the Frenzy for Ailin, we also need the Influence for Ailin, so just going to go with what we got. All right, this is generally a tricky one for the deck. We do need a decent amount of other things to happen to get going here. Scalesworm Patrol is above All-Nighter, so it's a card that you kind of just have to go with Flash Flood. And if you don't have Flash Flood, you do get into a kind of tricky position. I would say here, I think the thing to do is to play the all-nighter, just get another unit down, and use it as a blocker. So that's going to be a 4/4, and when it dies, the bonus reverts to the Kirin, which is also good. The good news is that this deck is generally going to be running flyers, which Sashenka of Kosul can kill. Island Head of the Tempest is just going to be very strong here. Like, this card will play down, be a really big unit with Aegis, so makes it very hard for them to play anything. Black Book Pit Boss is not going to bother us. We don't have any attachments or anything like that, so we're fine. And if they decide to attack here, well, that's fine. Think attack for 6 so that the Black Book can't attack into our units. Sashenka is interesting here. We can either play 2 bears to try and like really pressure out, or we can play Island and hope that the Black Book doesn't kill. I think the 2 bears make sense because this card has endurance, so if we don't play something, they're going to be able to get a card anyways. I'm going to play 1 bear and draw 1 card. That's a 5/5 bear, a 7/7 bear, and a 2/1 flyer. So, all good stuff. Probably go with this and this. Makes sense? They get a war cry. If they kill the bear, that's fine, but I think we're in good shape. Nothing remains? Okay. Unfortunately, our next cards are also going to be pretty good. I think we just go with Island Hand of the Tempest here. Talir Headmaster will have flying in charge, so we should be able to play the Channel the Tempest off the Talir. That's rough, but not the end of the world. Might get a chump here. Talir. Swing for 6, see what happens. Probably get a chump.
Shaping the future.
Okay, that was a mistake, I think. Just play Channel the Tempest here. They're at 1 HP, and we have a Seek Power. And also, Black Book still doesn't hit us, so lots of good stuff there. So would it have been lethal if we'd done it slightly different? I don't think so. No, we would have gotten 5 with the Island from the Frenzy if we'd played just Island. So I like this better. I think we did good. Okay, so now things get a little bit awkward. They've got good attacks, good blocks. Everything's kind of meh here. Obviously, if we get some Frenzy, we're in pretty good shape. But here, I think the main thing to do is just attack with the Talir to get a trade. That way we don't get into a situation where we're blocking multiple 3/2s. I can live with that. 2 Plunk Lumpkins, one of which has flying, and neither of which are going to be affected by taunt units, so that's probably lethal right there. Aerial deployment does create a random bird, so that's a random flyer, but they also still have to get 2 units down that block. Okay, and that's probably not going to happen off of an aerial deployment. Why are they getting 2 units? What's going on here? Oh yeah, they're getting the Unleash card as well, I see. So, the Unleash and the random card. Cool, all good. Pretty strong stuff. So yeah, like, we're just like motoring out a silver with this. It's a pretty simple deck that does like a lot of good work. I would say that overall, like, this is just a very strong, aggressive list that also has a little bit of fun attached to it. Kind of the exact kind of thing you want to be doing on a ladder grind. So, we'll see what the overall like win rate of it ends up being, but I think it's a pretty strong list, so gonna go ahead and put it up on YouTube for you all. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll see you all next time with more Eternal Brews. Thank you so much for watching.